And welcome to The Current. We're going to kick off the show doing a very unique segment about butterflies. Anita Camacho is a butterfly specialist. She's the president and founder of the nonprofit Tampa Bay Butterfly Foundation and the Tampa Bay chapter of North American Butterfly Association. She's really kind of a butterfly whisperer. She's traveled the world studying butterflies, and she has a conservatory here in our Tampa Bay area. Anita, thanks so much for calling into the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I have to tell you, I've never interviewed a butterfly specialist. This is pretty cool. When I found out about your story, I was like, this is absolutely fascinating. You're kind of like a butterfly whisperer. How did you get into all of this?
Well, I've been a nature girl all my life, and over time, I've always loved butterflies, always gardened for butterflies, and over time, it's just become more and more of a passion, especially as you see all the insect species declining and the plight for so many of our pollinators, and butterflies being a non-threatening pollinator, they're very easy to fall in love with.
You know, it's so sad that you mentioned we're seeing some of these species being, their populations are declining. And we have noticed that in our family, just taking walks. I was saying that to my husband the other day. Is it my imagination, or do you see less butterflies now? Is that happening?
Oh, it's happening, definitely, and it's becoming more and more of an issue and concern. I know so many people are very focused on the monarch, which is the flagship of butterfly species, but there's a lot of imperiled species, some that have gone extinct, and not only that, we look at other insect species too. Like, for example, growing up, love bug season was tremendous, and now we very rarely see that many love bugs anymore. So it's happening across all the species, but definitely butterflies are being impacted as well.
So what you've done, and I do like to share this part of your story, it's very interesting. You're a CPA by trade, but then you said, this is my passion. This is what I want to get into. How did you make a transition?
Well, I still have my CPA practice, and that still is ongoing, but this is kind of what I do on all my other spare time, is focus on conservation and awareness, education, and work with different groups on researches and universities, research projects to facilitate conservation and track the populations of different butterflies in our area and around Florida.
And so what do people need to know about native? You've done a native nursery, created one. How did you do that? What does that entail?
Well, that was kind of the takeaway. We're working on a butterfly conservatory as well, and the nursery was always going to be the takeaway because butterflies are specialist species. They rely on certain host plants to lay their eggs, and those host plants feed the caterpillars. And without those host plants, their population, that's really what's causing a big part of their population drop, is limited access to their wild plants, which grow in Florida. So with the population growth, those have declined tremendously because we scrape the properties, whether it's homes or businesses, and we don't put back the native plants that they need. So this is a takeaway from, enjoying and learning about the butterflies, is to plant more real Florida in Florida landscapes to create the corridors they need. But it's over 98% of the United States privately owned. That's more important than ever to do that and put, once you bring in the plants that they need, they show up, and it's just really fun to watch these beautiful creatures flying around and enjoying your landscape.
And so you've traveled all over the country. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Tampa Bay chapter of North America Butterfly Association, you're the president and founder of that nonprofit. So you have such a wealth of knowledge, but what are some of the things you learned or did or saw when you did your travels?
Yeah, I've been to Africa, Canada, Mexico, several countries, looking at butterflies and studying them with different international groups. And it's a really big issue, not just in the United States. It's pretty much a global issue with, as a result of population growth, a lot of use of toxic pesticides, climate issues as well. So there's a lot of talk about this internationally, not just here locally. And one of the things I wanted to do is really bring back that knowledge to the Tampa Bay area, where I've been all my life. Because when I started to look around, if there was a club or a group or anybody working on this here, I didn't find that there was such a club. So I started out actually with North American Butterfly Association, which is a national group, and asked about having a chapter here in Tampa. They, of course, said yes, and we started that a few years ago. And that group focuses on the population counts of butterfly species in various areas throughout Florida and reporting that information. It's a repository of collecting that data for many, many years now. So that was kind of the first thing we did. And then I felt like there was even more of a need for research, education, and outreach, and also, helping out with the native plants, which is really fundamentally what the butterflies need to help their population. So kind of out of that grew the Tampa Bay Butterfly Foundation to work with universities and get that awareness out there and do a lot of conservation work. Like we've worked with the Florida Aquarium, we've worked with Emory University, and the University of Georgia, and Florida Fish and Wildlife, several groups locally helping to work on our populations here. So it's been really a neat project to get involved with, and hopefully we're going to start doing some things with departments of transportation to put more habitat in our roadsides and create a lot more beauty in our area.
And so I just want to go back to your love for butterflies. Tell us some fun facts about these beautiful creatures and things that you've learned and, why you gravitate towards them.
Well, I think, the fact that they're non-threatening, they don't sting. They do like to eat plants, so we have to be able to share our ecosystem and understand that our plants are going to be well trimmed by these creatures that we plant for them. But I think, they taste with their feet. I think the fact that they can find a host plant very, very quickly. I've literally pulled host plants out of the back of my vehicle for conservation projects, and the butterflies were there within seconds. It's kind of amazing, but they need it so much that they really have an amazing homing system to find the plants that they need. So that's real interesting too. And any of the conservation projects we've worked on, they tend to show up pretty quickly once they find their plants there. So I find it interesting how they do that. Similarly, I think the most fascinating thing that a lot of people enjoy is the monarch migration. We really don't get a tremendous amount of migrators through Florida. We do get some, but I think that process where the fifth generation has never experienced this migration, they don't have leaders like bigger animals do where their elders are leading them through this migration process. They've never done this before. And every year they go back to the same place in Mexico. And I find that to be pretty fascinating. And I think there's still a lot of questions as to how they managed to do all this year after year.
You mean new generations of butterflies go back to the same place?
Yep, every year, the fifth generation. And they start over. After 8 or 9 months of overwintering in Mexico, they make it up to the Texas border. They lay their eggs, and those butterflies soon thereafter die. And then the next 4 generations migrate further north, and they do it all over again.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's it's pretty fascinating how nature works.
Yeah, that really is. I love this idea of a DIY garden project to make a little butterfly haven. How would someone do that in their backyard?
Well, it's pretty easy. Initially, if you've got a host plant and a nectar resource for the butterflies, you really only need a couple plants if you want to do something small. And it can be done on a patio, even a high-rise patio if it's not without a screen, obviously, so the butterflies can get to it. But it's really, really simple. These native plants like our sandy Florida soil. They evolved here in these soils, so they're used to it. You don't do anything to the soil to amend it. You don't have to spray any chemicals. You don't have to fertilize these plants. They really just grow in Florida naturally, which is the beauty of the gardening. It's super simple. Once you get them established in the first few weeks with some water, and hopefully after last night's rain, maybe we're going to see some rainy season.
Yeah.
That becomes even an easier time to plant them because then you don't even have to water them as often. So once they're established after the first, 3 or 4 weeks, the plants really take off and do what they're supposed to do. And it's pretty simple. That's it. It's pretty easy. We have lots of different host plants for different butterflies. Just depends on what you're trying to attract to your yard. And a lot of information. Our staff is all trained on, knowing what questions, whether you're in a dry area or a sunny location, a shady location, where you're wanting to plant your plants. All of those different things come into play, and you can plant in the shade. You can plant in the sun either way, and partial shade any of those things and get those plants in there, and you will see the butterflies coming very quickly.
So at your native plant nursery, and it is in Hillsborough County, where exactly is it located?
We're at 4113 Henderson Boulevard in South Tampa.
So are you doing summer camps there? Did I hear that correctly?
We are. We're actually, this is our first week of summer camps, mostly focused on butterflies this week, but each week is a different theme. Next week is nocturnal creatures. There will be butterfly releases every Friday. And this week we've been very lucky that we've had every day, each kid has been able to release a butterfly. So it's been daily versus just the end of the week. So just kind of depends on what emerges, but we have lots of caterpillars here, lots of things going into the caterpillars going into chrysalis, so they're able to see the whole life cycle. They've been able to see butterflies emerging out of the chrysalis. And we've got snakes, we've got bearded dragons and Chinese water dragons. We've got all kinds of different creatures, and the kids have been absolutely loving it. So,
is it too late for kids to sign up for the camps?
Absolutely not. We still have openings. We're going all the way through August 6th. So every week, like I said, is a different theme.
So is it can you sign up for just a week at a time, or is it
Yeah.
Okay.
You can sign up for just 1 week and, see how it goes, and then sign up for more if you want, multiple weeks. But yeah.
And are there age limits on the camps?
We're focused on the elementary school age kids. So that's kind of the focus, and for now.
Very cool. And I'm looking at your website right now. It's butterflytampa.com for folks who want to go check that out. And for those who just want to come by your native plant nursery, it's open to the public? It's obviously you sell items there. So what are the hours and when can you go?
So the nursery and gift shop are open Tuesday through Fridays from 11 to 5:30, Saturdays 10 to 5:30, Sundays noon to 4, and we're closed on Mondays. We have live butterflies on display. It's kind of a temporary exhibit till the big butterfly exhibit opens in the back. But every Friday afternoon through Sunday afternoon, we have live butterflies on display, and we always have the life cycle going with anywhere from 20 to 30 species at any given time, where they can see the caterpillars and the chrysalis. And we have some of our Florida native snakes and lizards also that people can see and get familiar with.
Very cool. And you also took part of the NFL Green Week when the Super Bowl took place here in our Tampa Bay area. What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh. How much greater can it be to have your own home team playing in the Super Bowl in your own town?
Can't be beat.
That was just absolutely amazing. We've had such a great time with our sports here lately, and it's just been so much fun. But participating in Green Week was awesome. I really love that the NFL does this in each of the cities that host the Super Bowl, and they put back, add some green to the city, and it was just a lot of fun. We planted a couple of pollinator gardens in some nearby parks, and it was just a lot of fun to work with the group and bring some more of that green back to Tampa.
Fantastic. What are your future goals with the facility?
Well, we're continuing to grow and kind of go through our metamorphosis here at Henderson
Metaphorically,
Boulevard and, build a butterfly exhibit in the back. We're hoping that will be finalized this year. It'll be a all immersive situation where you're going through a screen enclosure, lots of butterflies, 300 to 500 butterflies flying all around with a waterfall and a pergola. Just a really relaxing, tranquil environment to kind of just take a break and forget about life. And I find that so many people say when they're looking at butterflies, they just forgot everything else that was going on. So it really just kind of lets you take a break. And that's really what I want to offer to people, is just a place to come and just have some peace and just enjoy nature and disconnect from that, that world we're so connected to all the time with cell phones and computers. And it's just a nice, peaceful place that we're trying to create here.
Absolutely. And it's butterflytampa.com. Thank you so much for your time today. What a great, interesting interview. It was so nice to meet you over the phone, Anita. Thank you.
It was great to meet you too, and hope you have a great afternoon.
We've got a little nature theme going on the Current today, because next we're going to find out about how to best source fish that you want to eat. We'll be back with more.